let's work someone's sketch. And this is what I'm going to have you guys do today. Is, okay, each one of you gets to be a designer, and you get to think about, I mean, your design could very well become this end piece. Like, what do you have in mind? What's interesting to you? What forms will be cool? And thinking about the sun and the way it can go through and make images. Like, we have artists here who, I'm sure, not even words, you can just think about, oh, how an image can skew and then maybe even blend into an image. Like, oh, like shadows and just like interesting things visually. Or, you know, even work with words. And you're not even confined to these forms. It's just basically experimenting. What can you come up with? Just sketching. And the next step is prototyping, which we might have the time for today. And so we'll have you get cardboard and actually start cutting out the shapes that you come up with and start building and seeing at the beginning steps, like, oh, is it kind of top heavy? Will it stand? Is it interesting? Like, I think it'll be fun if we take it outside and see if you decide to do holes or some sort of shadow casting technique. How will it look? Is this interesting? Like, how can I modify it? What will be even more interesting? And then once you've kind of had a handle on what shape or form you would like to work with, you re-sketch it out. So you go into the logistics. Well, I think considering if you want to go into the math of the sun, like at angle 45 degrees, 12 o'clock, it's at, the sun is here, and this is when I want this word to appear or this image to appear, and breaking it down much more logistically. And then you test. You recreate your prototype, but based on more structured details and numbers. And then you modify and improve. I don't expect, maybe some of you guys will be interested in going into a CAD program and seeing how it would actually, your structure would look as an ultimate product. I don't think we're enforcing that, but I definitely encourage those of you who are interested in 3D software or creating 3D structures to, yeah, Google SketchUp's open source. You can download it for free.
And also something interesting in Google SketchUp, it has, you can actually enter times and dates of the year, and it will create those shadows. So, and you can actually play those shadows out.
That's very cool.
So that's something that might come in handy if we're doing these practical things.
So modify and improve. So this person actually broke down this template into a two-dimensional template, and now they're ready to move on to closer to the final product. So I'm missing a lot of steps in terms of like what actually happens in troubleshooting and building, and it's time intensive, which is why we're starting now. But to the final product, which you can't see, but maybe you can see on my screen. So here are, I already mentioned this before, but just in writing, challenges and constraints is the location and city heights, and really we want the focus to be around community identity. So whether it be you and how you see yourself in city heights, or other people, the way you see people fitting into the city, the way they melt into the city, the way they blend into it, what stands out to you, what seems very particular to this place, is it missing something, does something need to be added? Is there some sort of commentary that you're like, passionate, or you don't have to be passionate about it, but something that you've noticed that's kind of irked you, or in a good way or a bad way, and it's in some ways empowering because you have an opportunity to kind of voice your opinion about how you see this space. So here are the guidelines. We're imagining it's large scale because we want to make the shop bot. And there is some ideas of incorporating solar paneling. So we recently just bought this lamp, and so it generates energy throughout the day, and then during the night it'll light up. So maybe you can even think about at night how light, just think about light as elements, whether it be daylight, sunlight, or this light at night. And use sunlight as a visual device or technique. And the most important, and the most thing I think And the thing I'm most interested in is your guys' opinions and impressions or understandings of City Heights. And here's more questions. It's kind of difficult to wrap your head around it, so more questions. What ways can you represent a place? How do you represent City Heights? What are important themes that should be reflected back to the community? And more themes to consider are, again, community, culture, language, home, place, identity. So these are kind of general things that you can always go back to if you're not sure where to go. And Katie mentioned this earlier about the Olympic Games in 1968, and how it was such an effective design campaign. And even though there was kind of political turmoil and unrest happening at the time, it was amazing how this design team came together and, in some sense, created this feeling of basically harboring a feeling of community between the people in the city, and being proud that the Olympics were being held there, and wanting to represent and feel good about their place. So in a similar way, how can you create something that will inspire people to be excited about where they are, or be excited about the people around them? And I drew this quote from someone. I think the last part's really most interesting to me. The logotype powerfully expressed a sense of place and culture, and it visually explained the games from Mexico, which I guess is what I basically just said. Yeah, think about, what are you proud of, and are you proud of this place, are you proud of this space, or are you impressed by people? So the challenge for you is how do you work with these constraints that we give you here and capture that sense of community, place, and belonging? Which is huge, but